Hello, beautiful people. Happy Tuesday, Miami, South Florida. Welcome today to the show 94.5 FM. Blink Radio, WSQF. You guys can tune in and listen to us on WSQFradio.com. We are here with our beautiful guest for the first time, Cheryl Johnson, who is the founder of Harmonic Leadership. I've never had the opportunity to interview someone on this topic, so I'm super excited to see what unfolds today. And she just flew in from Virginia. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, let's go ahead and bring the microphone a little closer to you there. Manuel, how is that for you?
Sound perfect.
Yes? All right, perfect. So, Cheryl Johnson, it's funny because I always talk about one connection away. And the only reason why you're here right now is because we were connected through the collective with Jonathan Foltz, right? So how did you first find out about Epic Talks and the radio show? I'd love to start there.
Well, through the collective,
Yes.
no doubt. But I don't even know how I found the collective a couple of years ago. Connected with Jonathan and Umar, love them to death. And, you know, Jonathan promotes a lot of different organizations and a lot of different programs. And he was promoting yours, and everything you did was in Miami. And I was like, oh, I'm from Virginia, and I don't want to just pop down to Miami for, just one
Night, one event.
one night or whatever. And so I just kept watching you and following you a little bit, but not really engaging with you. And when I got the message, and I was like, oh, I really can engage with her on a different level. And talking about connections, we're going to talk a lot about connections today. So I was just super excited, and once we talked, I was like, I got more and more excited, and
That's good. Now you're here.
I know my friends are like, where are you going? What are you doing? And I'm like, I really don't know, but that's okay.
She's adding some excitement into her life. And we literally just were talking about where she comes from. She lives in 8 acres of land where really doesn't even barely turn on her car. And now I got her staying in Brickell where all the city is going crazy. And now she's here on the show. And that's what leadership is truly about.
It is.
Taking that leap of faith and believing and trusting the process and going with the flow and creating new experiences in your life. I'm a true believer that you get to create the best version of your life, the best version of yourself, the best version of what you think your life could be, right? So that's why we do what we do. So I want to get into harmonic leadership, and I was reading, through your questions, and I'm like, I wanted to know, first, how did you come up with the concept of harmonic leadership?
Well, like everything else in my life, I kind of stumbled upon it. And let me go back a step or two. I've been an instructional designer. I write training programs for, I've done it for 20 years now. Living in Northern Virginia, as I'm sure anybody who lives in Northern Virginia knows, your primary customer is the federal government. And I've worked for, Fortune 100 companies and nonprofits, you name it. I've worked for them.
What is an instructional designer?
I know.
I've never heard of that before.
Another term. I write training programs.
Okay, gotcha.
It's that simple. And I facilitate and deliver training programs. And to that end, many of them have been leadership programs.
Okay.
And those leadership programs vary anywhere from, we'll talk a little bit more about agile, which is a very process-oriented, step-by-step type thing. And then Jonathan's favorite word, his favorite concept, conscious leadership. I first got introduced to that concept from him, and I kept asking everybody, what is conscious leadership? And even Jonathan was like, he can't tell me exactly what conscious leadership was. So I started looking into it and found out that it was really just being more aware, being more, connected to the people around you. But one of my favorite models was servant leadership, and that's where
I love that.
I know, instead of the leader being the one in charge that always, dictates everything, they're more in tune with the people that they serve. And they're there to make sure that their needs are being met, and then in turn, people respond accordingly. And so it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And so I kept thinking, which of these models do I like, and all these other models that I've worked with, and I was like, I don't know. And finally, one day I was just like, we all love AI, right? AI is
Uh-huh,
our
who
favorite thing.
doesn't?
So I was talking.
AI or die.
I know. And that's what Jonathan was. That's how I met Jonathan. And I was playing with AI, talking to AI, saying, hey, which of these, tell me more about this, tell me more about that. And AI was like, how about the word harmonic? And I was like, oh, I love that. I love it because I love music. We're going to talk a lot about music.
Yes. We're going to get there in just a second. Yeah.
And so it just seemed to take many different models and blend them together.
I love that. And so I'm curious because in the questions that I have here, not once is mentioned if you play any instruments, if you sing. So I was just curious because in order to come up with a program of harmonic leadership, which is all about, the music industry and inspiring others and helping music leaders become the best versions of themselves so they can lead teams, right? Mm-hmm. You have to come from the music industry. So tell me a little bit about that. Where did it start? What do you play? What do you do? Piano, guitar, sing? I don't know. Because if you sing, I'm about to make you sing right now.
Oh, no. That's the last of all the things I do. Funny thing. When I was in junior high, we got together, a group of us, to sing in some, I don't know, competition of some sort or whatever. And I was practicing one day at home, and my mom was like, I don't really think that's the talent you have.
About singing?
So no, I don't sing. We don't do that. But I do play the piano.
Okay.
I love playing the piano. I'm not, super good at it, but that's okay because it's something I love. And I love music. And as we were, prepping here for the show, he was playing music, and it was all my 80s kind of music. And it was just inspiring me and getting me ready. I love music, and I learned not just how to play music, but as I studied the theory of music and all of the different analogies that it brings to life in general, it just seemed perfect for what I was trying to do in terms of leadership. And really, harmonic leadership is all about learning to lead when you're not the leader. Mm. How can you contribute? How can you be a person of influence when you're not the one in charge? And as I dug deeper and deeper into the different analogies that it had with music, I was like, oh, this just seems perfect, So it's really, even though it will benefit leaders in organizations, it can benefit musicians, it will benefit anyone. I'm a big storyteller kind of person.
No,
I guess.
I love it. Yes.
And people would always tell me, you're a leader, and I'm like, I'm not I'm an instructional designer. All I do is write training programs. Sometimes I'm the project manager. Whoa, that's a big leader, right? And my daughter one day told me, she says, no, Mom, you really are a leader. And I'm like, why am I a leader? And she's just started articulating different things. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's when it really sunk in.
Yeah.
That being a leader is really just being a person of influence.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that, because I always say being a leader is a person of service. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have that title or have to have a book or have to be speaking on stages. To me, being a leader is, how can I help you get to the next level? Yes. How can I help you connect you with someone that could help you? Right? Yes. That's what a leader is.
Yes.
A leader is someone that I see helping a homeless person on the street get up or give them some money, like that. You already have that intention in your heart, So what do you feel that was lacking in the music industry that you wanted to create harmonic leadership?
I would say it was more that I felt what was lacking in the leadership industry. And I felt like leaders, all the leadership training and things that I built and everything, they were always about the person, and back to our music analogy, being the soloist. I'm the one, I'm the center stage. I'm the one that wants to dictate how things go. And my job is to inspire you and get you to follow me and get you to come into my agenda. And as I was going through all these different leadership programs, I was like, I wouldn't want to follow you.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I am not wanting to follow you, why am I writing all this training to help other people follow you? It just never, I've always kind of Simon Sinek. There's a lot of things about
I love Simon Sinek. Start with why.
Yeah. And there's a part of it. Start with why. But even still, there just seemed to be something lacking, and it's that word connection. You brought the word connection. And when you can connect with other people, and music, think about listening to music, and what's your favorite song? Why is it your favorite song? You feel connected, and and I'm also, more so than a piano player, I'm a dancer.
Okay, I love dancing.
I know. That's my musical connection. And if you love Latin music,
I'm Latina, so yes.
you'll understand. And it's just, dances don't work unless there's a connection. When I was younger, I was a dancer, but almost all the dances were choreographed. So it was like, here's all the steps, follow the steps, listen to the music, get in tune with the music, and you'll do fine. But then as I got older and married, my husband and I took some partner dancing, and over the word that just kept coming back was connection. If you're not connected to your partner, you can do the most simple dance and it looks gorgeous if you're connected.
Yes.
You can do the most technical, difficult dance, and if you're not connected, it just sucks.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. It's like dancing salsa with somebody that doesn't know how to dance salsa. You're totally like not in tune, Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love that you're saying this, because one of my passions is dancing, cooking and dancing.
Hey.
That's, I'm Latina, I'm Puerto Rican. And it's funny because like, when I grew up in a Christian home, so I wasn't allowed to listen to what they would call secular music, right? And I would take myself up to the roof and put on this little radio that they didn't know I had, and I taught myself how to dance salsa and merengue and everything, and I go and destroy the dance floor anywhere I'm at. You know what I mean? And I just love it. And to me, dancing is a way of therapy.
It is.
I don't even have to go to like a psychologist or a therapist to like let my stress go. I just go dancing.
It is. And I think it's funny because my husband was 100% not a dancer, like totally. And he was like, didn't want to do this. And he's like, okay, we're married. So, you're supposed to, try to do what the other person likes. That's part of your being married or whatever. But he's like, this is not me. And he went. And even when we were dancing, I think part of it too is because he saw how much joy it brought to me.
I know.
And he was like, I love this because it's bringing you so much joy. And this goes back to leadership.
I love that.
When you are engaging with other people and you realize that what you're doing brings them joy, there's just some kind of connection there. And then people want to work for you. You don't have to try all these techniques or agile step-by-step processes to get people to perform. They just want to perform because they love you. And I don't mean, romantic kind of love. They just love you.
100%. I love that you're saying this because I'm the kind of person where I'm just like, what do you love? Right? And then when somebody tells me, I'm excited about this, or I ask them, what are you excited about? I'm excited that, then I make it about them.
Yes.
The moment you make it about someone, then they start talking about themselves and they get excited, then they start trusting you more.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's like my little secret sauce, coming from a place of service, asking them about them, having them talk about themselves. Because in full transparency, people love talking about themselves.
They do.
What is something that has you excited? If I were to tell you right now what I'm excited about in life right now, you would be like, oh my gosh, this is like, great. I would love to tell you, right? But I'm more interested in you. I'm more interested in adding value to you. I'm more interested to getting to know you as a person and what you're creating with Harmonic Leadership and, all the musicians out there.
I think it's interesting because you say the word trust, and that at the core, if you can get people to trust you, you can get people to do anything for you.
100%.
They just want to engage. You even think about your children, and as a parent, we're a leader. As a parent, you're a leader. And if you can get your kids to trust you, they want to, vacuum, they want to do the dishes. Yeah. Now, mind you, when they get to be teenagers, totally different story. We won't go there. That's a whole different ballgame. But that's, once again, you're a person of influence, and building that kind of trust. And when you talk about, talking to other people, there's three different types of listening, and we're all familiar with the most common one. I'm listening to you just long enough so that I can formulate what I want to say back to you. And I'm more worried about what I'm going to say than really listening to you. And then, of course, there's what we call active listening, and that's where you're listening and I'm repeating back what you're saying to make sure I understand you. I'm getting on a different level. And I think that's interesting. That's good, because you're actually showing that you care about what the other person is saying. But still, in the back of your mind, you're still kind of formulating, okay, now I understand what you're saying. So now here's my appropriate response, right? And then there's what they call this global listening. As I started digging into this harmonic leadership idea that I haven't found anywhere, which I think is, I love niche.
I love it.
things.
We're about to get into this really deep in a second.
Yeah. And this global listening where you're not even talking, you're not even worried about what you're going to say. You walk into the room and you're reading the room. You're picking up on the energy that's in the room, and you're trying to determine, like, let's just go to a business meeting. You walk in the room and you're not the leader, you're not the one in charge of the meeting, but you're picking up on, oh, this person feels a little bit uncomfortable. I can tell. This is the quiet person in the room. This is the person that talks all the time and says everything. And now, how can I, as a person of influence who's not in charge, be a leader in that environment? And we'll get into that a little bit more, but I just thought those types of listening, that especially that global listening idea, is just something I'd never even heard of.
Yeah, I love that. I always like to wait till everyone's done speaking and then I'll say something, but I love listening more than I speak, and that says a lot about you as well. So, what does it mean to lead harmonically, right? I know you mentioned to me right before we started this, the show, about harmonic leadership and how that came up, and you even used AI to help you come up with this. So when was that moment with the idea was first planted? So, for example, when I first thought about Epic Talks, I remember exactly the moment and the second that God planted that, because I truly believe that God doesn't give you a vision you can't execute. And the moment that you get that thought is because he believes that you can bring it through. Yes. Right? So when was that pivotal moment that you were like, this is what I want to do, and here's the name that I'm going to have, and this is what I used to create that name?
Oh my. I hate saying this. There's our pre-COVID days and then our post-COVID days, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, but this, because it's so applicable, I can't avoid saying pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, I was extraordinarily busy doing my instructional design work and creating training programs and doing all the things I did. And I was living in Virginia, but oddly enough, I was working in California full time. So I was commuting back and forth just a little bit, but spent the majority of my time in California. And I absolutely loved that. Was, of all my jobs that I had, that was my favorite job that I had in the many years I did it. I came back to Virginia because of COVID, and they didn't want people working on site, go figure, which was a blessing. And after that, I was just like, I couldn't find work anywhere. And I was like, oh, this is, and that was so unusual. I was always able to find work. That wasn't a challenge I ever had. And I'd always wanted to create my own learning program, because I felt like all the learning programs that I was creating
they weren't adding as much value as you wanted them to.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. Yeah. And so I think that's when I first came across Jonathan, and we were at some leadership, program that they put together. And that's where Jonathan brought up this idea of conscious leadership. And I started looking into it, and I was like, that's kind of a good idea. But it's so esoteric that people want something they can grab onto, right? And then like I said, I really like the idea of servant leadership, and people, unfortunately, it's my least favorite is the Agile program, where it's kind of step-by-step process. And I just kept playing with it and writing training for myself. I wasn't delivering it to anybody, putting it all together, and none of it was resonating. None of it was, even hitting the mark for me. And so I was really struggling. And finally, when I came across this, or AI helped me come across this harmonic leadership idea, just probably even 6 months ago, it was like, this is it. This is exactly what I want. Because as I started taking my music background and my dancing and my piano playing background and my music theory and all that kind of stuff, I was like, these analogies fit perfectly. And that's nice. You could write a book about analogies and talk on a podcast all you want about analogies.
Yeah.
But how does this play out in real life? And as I went through it, I was like, this is so perfect. This is the thing that's been missing in all of these training programs that I've built. And I've built tons of them.
I love, yeah, so you know it, the business inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question here for you. So if harmonic leadership is the goal, what does dissonant leadership look like in a modern workplace?
Oh, that was the one that it's interesting. I feel like this conversation is just going right where it needs to go. Because that is the hardest concept to get people to engage with. Think about cognitive dissonance.
Okay.
Think about something, you grow up and you're taught, certain things your whole life. You grew up Christian, I grew up Christian, and all of a sudden somebody presents you with an idea that just goes counter to everything you've ever, been taught.
And now you start questioning yourself.
And it's a really uncomfortable feeling. It just is like, and if you go back to the music analogy, you think about, okay, so you have, major and minor chords. Major chords, happy, everything. And then you have your minor chords, which I find much more interesting because they're, there's something mysterious and, about them and kind of unique. But some of them can be sad. But then there's these ones called chromatic.
Okay.
And sorry I won't go too deep into this, but if you ever play Bach,
Bark?
Bach,
I have
Johann Bach, the old, the old guy, Bach.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy. Classic.
Gotcha.
Classical music,
okay.
right? Because this has to do with playing the piano, a lot of times Bach, you'll play with one hand something and your other hand's playing something totally different.
Wow.
Usually you're trying to create the two hands to blend and sound good, right? With Bach, it's very dissonant. It's like you're playing one thing with one hand and one thing with another.
So completely different, yeah.
And it's difficult because they don't blend and they're very dissonant. And so how do you make that? How did Bach make something that's so different sound good? And not only different, but sometimes they're just like totally counter. Is this chromatic? Unless you've ever listened to chromatic music, it's just kind of grates on your nerves. But Bach didn't make it grate on your nerves. Very hard to play, by the way. Very, very hard. And so it's very hard in a leadership model. And so as a leader, working on creating or taking two totally different, ideas, concepts, people, whatever it is, and bringing them together in a way that sounds good without compromising who they are. It's not like taking these two things and two hands that I'm playing in music and changing so that they blend and are harmonic. It's taking two totally different things that are allowing them to be authentic and true to who they are and what they are, and still making them sound good. And that's really challenging. And that's like a whole conversation in and of itself, which would take too long to explain. But to me, that's the beauty of harmonic leadership, is really allowing people to be who they are, allowing people to be authentic, not trying to change who they are, but bringing them together in a way that sounds really beautiful.
So you've created a harmonic leadership program?
Yes.
Okay. So I want you to tell me a little bit about what that program looks like and who is it for?
I wish I could tell you what it looks like, because I've delivered it to, just as a beta test out to some various people. And every time I get into it, and I have my, my structured plan, my little agile process that I don't really like, but that's what people like. People want a step-by-step process. Tell me, If I have a problem, how do I solve it? Give me A, B, and C so I can get to D, and we're done, and we'll call it good. But every time I start delivering it, people are like bringing in their own selves. It's Bach, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, we've got to change things up a little bit here. And I'll say, okay, well, next time we meet, we're going to talk about this because this is what you wanted to bring to the table. And so I have a hard time having an absolute script or curriculum, whatever you want to call it. I definitely have a format. I definitely have a, here's the concepts and topics we're going to talk about. But it's really just about you coming and let's talk about you. Let's talk about what you're doing, and how each of us can, bring out the best in ourselves.
And it's basically people in the music industry.
No.
Okay.
No, it's anybody.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, it totally started off as just a leadership program for people in corporate America.
Okay.
And I was like, I've done that too much in my life. I was not that interested. It's really about learning to be the leader when you're not in charge.
Gotcha. What do you feel are like the most common signs that an organization is out of tune?
Number one, they're missing their benchmarks.
Okay.
If you're the CEO, that's the number one thing you look at. But, oftentimes you'll see people, you see this all the time, even if they're in sync, is people standing around the water cooler, people complaining, people being unhappy, people not wanting to show up to work. A couple of people in my beta group that I'm working with are working under some very challenging circumstances. And they're explaining to me, and I won't go into detail because I don't want to, divulge any kind of confidentiality things there. But they're having a really hard time. Their jobs are in jeopardy, and they don't feel like leadership is listening to them. And so they come to this program, and they're, thinking that it's all about, I'm the manager, how do I get my employees to do X, Y, and Z? And they're like, all of a sudden, I'm no longer a manager, I'm just a human being. Yeah. And rather than managing people, I really just want to connect with people. And that's back to that
back
word.
To connection. It's interesting you say this because one of my best friends, she told me a story yesterday that she just experienced 2 weeks ago. She had an employee who was slacking on the job, and her clients were complaining. She's in commercial real estate, construction, and all that stuff. And I guess the guy was just sitting in his car and not really doing anything and just kind of supervising, right? So, and it was costing the company money, right? And they were, doing the numbers and stuff like that, and there was some money missing or whatnot. So they fired him, right? 2 weeks later, he committed suicide. So she's taken a heavy load on that because she's the one that fired him, right? And he had 3 kids, and he put his child to sleep, and he shot himself in the head after he put his child to sleep, right? So in my mind, when she told me that, when an employee is failing at their job, just like a student in school. Yeah. Like, I was a foster child. My parents were heroin addicts. I went into the foster care system. I had abandonment issues. I felt I wasn't good enough. I wasn't happy in my foster home. All of these traumas. But because of all of my traumas, I was acting a certain way as a troubled child in my school. Not once did somebody tell me, how can we help you? I was getting punished or beat up or hit or suspended or whatever. How different would have it been if they would have been like, what do you need? Like, obviously there's something wrong going on, right? So when she was telling me this, I was like, what if they would have been like, hey, what is going on with you that you're not performing at your highest? How can we help you? Or how can we bring emotional intelligence into your life or mindset, right? So the reason I am where I am now is because I realized on my own that I needed to get help, like personal development. So I invested in myself. I got into emotional intelligence. Like, I've invested over $250,000 of my own money into myself to become who I am now, right? And that's been in the span of 10 years. So I would invest here and here and here, and I'm like, this is going to help me get to the next level. This is where I'm going to learn. This is how I'm going to learn how to become an author or whatever it may be, right? But I invested in myself. But it's because God gave me the wisdom for me to realize that I needed to get help for me to become better. So what if leaders or companies were like, if this employee isn't performing at their best, why? Marriage is wrong, kid is sick, you know what I mean? So that's why, like, I love this, because I think that the reason that people are failing in companies and getting fired is because their leadership is failing them. Their leadership is struggling. Their leadership, right? So I don't know if you've seen those videos where you have the teachers that have these little handshakes with the teachers before they get in, or they get a hug from the teacher before they go in, right? That's a teacher being in leadership and giving love to the child before they go into class, right? I think in today's society, everything is so transactional.
It is.
And people aren't feeling the love. You know, people are depressed.
Yes.
People are feeling betrayed. People are feeling that they're doing so much for others and other people aren't reciprocating, you know? So that's why in my day-to-day life, like, I'm intentional. Who can I help today? Let me open this door. Let me tell somebody, your hair looks great. I love your shoes. Hi, let me buy you a coffee or lunch or whatever it may be, right? So I think right now what is lacking, especially with everything that's going on, is leaders who are willing to give more and love more. So that's why I love that you're creating this, and you've created it already.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting too is, you know, as you tell your story, it doesn't have to necessarily be a teacher or a manager or a leader.
It could be anyone.
It can be anyone.
Yeah.
And as the other thing you said that really resonated with me is you spent over $250,000 in yourself. When we are in environments, when we go to work or school or wherever we're at, we always expect the teacher, the leader, the manager to be the one to set the stage and to create the environment. And when they're not doing it, what do? We sit around and complain. You know, we say, sit in the break room and blah, 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 so-and-so did such and such and blah, 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 right? And we've all been there. We've all done that. And some of these people that are in my group right now, they're not in a position to create that environment. They don't think they are because they're not in charge. And that's what we talk about every week is how can you as an individual player make a difference? You know, if you see somebody struggling, you reach out to them instead of saying, let's complain about what's going on. You find out what's going on in their life. You find out why they are, we talk about music and playing sour notes. Why are you such a sour note? Usually when people are like, you're like, oh, stay away from them, They're toxic. We have toxic people. That's a favorite word these days. Well, there's toxic music. There's toxic people. But rather than shy away from that toxic person, why not reach out to that person? Why not find out what's going on in their life instead of saying, why are you such a nasty person? What's going on? How can I help? What and how? What's going on and how can I help?
100%.
That if you walk away from nothing else listening to this today and you want to be that person of influence, walk away saying, what can I do and how can I help?
100%. I love that you're saying this because I was even having a conversation with Manny yesterday, and most people, they just come to me like wanting or needing something, right? How can I get on your stage? How can I get free tickets to your events? Take to introduce me to this person, right? It's rare that people are like, hey, Mel, I'm bringing 10 people to your event that already purchased tickets. Can I get a comp one because I brought them? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, I'd love to be on your stage. What's the investment? Not, hey, let me get on your stage when, my events, they're expensive. Yeah. Like, I have to get a venue. I have to pay staff. I have to pay my camera crew. You know what I mean? Like,
really?
So, and you don't forget those people. You don't forget the ones that do that, but you also don't forget the ones like, hey, how can I help you? What do you need help with or support with? I have a big email list, right? So my friends that have courses, I'm like, hey, Send me an email so I could send out to my community and blast it off. Send me your flyer so I could put it on my social media, because I have, over 100,000 followers throughout all of my platforms, right? So I love that we're sharing this. I don't really talk about this a lot on the show, but this, I think, is what harmonic leadership is all about.
It is, and it's interesting because I don't, I'm not one of those. We had this conversation beforehand. She asked me what my Instagram handle was, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I have 2 of them, but I never use them, kind of thing. And I live on 8 acres out in the middle of nowhere. I like being by myself. I'm 100% introvert kind of person, so I'm not the kind of person to go out and do those types of things. And so I've had to ask myself, what can I do? Well, before we came in here, we were talking about the fact that I had no internet when we first moved. I mean, 0 internet when we first moved into our property. And Elon Musk saved us with Starlink.
Okay.
So all I'm doing right now is simply reaching out and, putting together these harmonic leadership things. And, people are like, well, how much does it cost? And I'm like, right now, it doesn't cost anything. You can just join my group, because I just want people to feel like, this is the one simple thing I can do to give back. I'm not kidding. For 20, 30 years, I've been an instructional designer. I've made a good living. My husband makes a good living. We're in a comfortable position, and there's just a lot of people who are in need out there. And I think that's the servant leadership model that I like, and that's what I try to do. So I can't help in a lot of ways, but what I can do, I hope helps a few people.
100%. It's always like a domino effect. One domino, it's going to make the other ones trickle down. And that's what it is, just one person at a time, So could you share a success story? Tell us about maybe a team, right, that applied these principles and transformed from dissonant to harmonic leadership.
Okay. I'm sure people would love for me to share a corporate example.
Okay.
But I'm not going to.
How about you share both?
Yeah. Okay. I'll share the personal one first, because as you were telling your story, I was doing the active listening, not the global listening. I was thinking of it made me think of, a lot of things in my own life. And my son grew up struggling with a learning disability, and he had some really significant challenges. And if I'm an introvert, puts me to shame, kind of thing. And he was in 7th grade, and I remember his teacher coming to me and telling me, "You do realize that your son pretty much can't read."
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be challenging." And we've employed a lot of interventions and things, and he's doing really good in his life right now. But I remember her telling me that as a teacher, she gets up, gives the lesson, ask anybody have any questions, here's the assignment, gives an assignment. And, kids that aren't introverts and good students raise their hand, hey, I have a question, here's a question. You've been there. We've all been there, done that. And she said he would never ask for help. And I was like, yeah, that's definitely one of the things on his IEP is he needs to learn to advocate for himself more. But he wasn't quite ready for that step in his life yet. And all she did, this was teachers, we always talk about giving teachers more money, and I do think teachers need to be paid more.
I agree.
But, they need more money. They need, all these resources to do better. This was one simple thing. She said, whenever I was presenting the material, I could always tell by the look in his eye that he wasn't getting it. And it almost makes me teary. And she would say, after she was done giving the assignment and everything, she'd just walk over to him and she'd just say, hey, it doesn't look like you understood it. Can I explain it to you again? And at the end of the school year, they call, how they give awards for everything, give you a trophy for everything. They called me and they said, hey, we want you to come to the awards ceremony. And I was like, I'm working, I'm busy, I don't want to come to an award ceremony to see him get some little ribbon every kid's going to get, right? And they said, no, we need you to come. I said, okay, whatever. So I came and I sat there and they gave out all the awards and all the little awards for the ones everybody gets, and the best science student, the best math student, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, right? And I was like, oh, why did I was just about ready to get up and leave. And sorry, this one will make me even more teary.
It's okay.
They'd saved the last award, and it was it's at the time when President Bush was the president, and he's the one that authorized this award. And they told what a big award it was, and it wasn't like, you know, the student who had improved the most or anything, but it was a big deal, and it had a plaque and everything from President Bush. And just as I was getting up to walk out the door, they announced that my son was the one who'd won the award.
Oh.
And
I'm getting goosebumps.
I know. And I'm not kidding. Literally, there was an audible gasp amongst everybody in the auditorium, you know. And
that's beautiful.
I was like, and it's all because one teacher did something so simple.
Yep.
That's a leader.
100%.
That's somebody who cares. And I can tell you right now, that was a major turning point in his life. And although, you know, he still struggled, all of his problems didn't go away in terms of school. He works as an electrician, you know, he's married and got a little girl. And I just went and saw her dance recital the other day. And she was so proud. She's like, Grandma, I'm going to dance just like you.
Aww. I love that. What a beautiful story.
And so that to me is a leader. Those are the types of leaders I'm trying. Initially, my program was all about, I'm going to create a leadership program for corporate America and make a big difference. And I just changed my whole perspective. And it's like, no, I just want to help people.
People don't understand that leadership starts with one simple step.
Yes.
You don't have to be in front of an audience, or you don't have to be whatever you think a leader might be that owns a company or there's an author or a speaker. Like, leadership starts with, you see somebody that's about to get hit by a car and you grab them. You see a little child that is lost and you help them. You see someone that, you know, they're standing and you're sitting and they're older than you, get up and give them your chair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
know.
Like, it's like these simple little things. So that story just really touched my heart. Yeah. I saw myself in that. Yeah. I wanted to be a teacher when I was younger. And I saw my family, you know, my foster dad's a professor, my sister's a teacher, and I just felt like I want to teach on a bigger scale. Yeah. So, which is why I have the platform that I have.
And you are a teacher.
You know,
you in essence are.
So, wow. So that story really touched my heart. So, what is something that, you know, you're looking forward to right now with your program? Like, what's next?
What's next? Next is just getting the message out there that it's there.
Okay.
And I do believe that, you know, right now, like I said, I am giving it away for free, but I don't always see myself doing that, because I do believe that people, when they pay for something, they value it more. I mean, I'm on podcasts all the time, and I do a podcast, and, you know, it's free and whatever. But I have to admit that coming to this one, you know, I prepared more. I thought more about it. I put more into it. And it's because I, not only, you know, because there was an investment involved, investment in my time, investment in coming down here from Virginia, which oddly enough doesn't seem like it would be a big deal, but leaving my property at this stage where there's still a lot of things that need to be done. And my husband and I both struggle to travel sometimes now because of all of the work that's involved. So, you know, it was an investment, but I feel like it's worth it already. I'm just sitting here like, oh, I'm so excited I came.
That's amazing. What did your husband say when you told him, I'm going to Miami?
Well, neither one of us like the heat. So he's like, well, but it was hotter in Virginia, you know. But, yeah. And he says, and you're good. That. One of my questions, you know, you ask me, do you have any questions? I'm like, do I have to be on camera? And that's what he says, you're going to be on camera? Yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah.
No, that's great, because you get to take, with this content too, you get to take your free course and monetize it.
Yeah.
Right? Because God is honoring you with this blessing to bless others, but we also get to bless ourselves by making money from our hard work.
Yes.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You know, and you could start little by little. And I'll give you a good example. When I first started Epic Talks, it was free for the first year and a half.
Yeah.
Free. Yeah. But I started building my name,
yes.
Epic Talks, and I was bringing in big speakers, right?
Yeah.
But I was investing almost $3,000 to $4,000 a month of my own money to be able to build my name.
Yes.
Right? So then after that, then I was like, oh my God, $15 a ticket. Are they going to drop off? Oh, I was scared. Yeah. The right one stayed, right? Then $35 a ticket. Are they going to drop off, right? Then the pandemic happens and I was like, oh my God. Then I decided to throw my first event. I charged $50 a ticket and people paid. Then the event where I started charging the prices I just charge now, they had canceled Swim Week. They had canceled Art Basel, everything. And I went to the SLS and those big organizations had canceled. I hadn't. So I went to the SLS, hey, how about I do a fashion show and an art event here? Wow. And I'm going to bring musicians and we're going to bring up the SLS name again and make people know, let people know that it's open. And they were like, okay. I charged $150 a ticket. 350 people showed up.
Wow.
I never lowered my price.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we get to get rewarded for our hard work and not be shameful about it.
Right.
You know? And I'm adding so much value to people that, yes, I get to charge the high prices because I'm putting in my time. I'm putting in the work, you know? And as a Christian, growing up as a Christian, as you know, they shame you for wanting to make so much money. No, God, the Bible talks about God is a God of abundance.
I know.
God is a God of leadership. God is a God of fruitfulness. Because without money, how are we supposed to bless others?
Exactly.
You know.
Well, my favorite parable in the New Testament is the one of the talents. You know, He gives you talents, and the one, if you don't take the talent that He gave you, then He's not happy with you. He wants you to take your talents, and He wants you to multiply your talents so that you can bless other people.
100%. So if a leader's listening right now and wants to bring harmony into their team, what's the first, most impactful step that you would say that they should take?
I think you already said it. Invest in yourself. Take the time and whether the financial resources, your time, whatever it is, look inward. What is it that I need to create harmony in my own life? Because you can't create harmony in your environment if you're not feeling okay.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. And so I think, and I'll just say it, I feel like you've led me today. I've been inspired by the things you said and the things that, the opportunity that you've given me. And so, take the time to invest in yourself. And it could take money, whatever it is. If you just need to sit down and talk to people and say, hey, I'm really struggling in life, give them the opportunity to bless you. We never want to ask for help in our lives. And I think asking for help to see yourself, and that's in our last little session that we had, it's, we cast a shadow wherever we go. And it's easy to ask your best friend, well, hey, tell me some things I need to work on. They're going to be nice. They're going to be sweet. Oh, you may ask your spouse. They'll be a little more honest.
Yeah, 100%.
Ask your mom, as I told you earlier. My mom told me best advice she ever gave: don't sing. That's not your talent. But ask the people who don't like you what you need to work on, and that's hard. That's hard to hear those things. But when you hear those things and you take them internally, and it doesn't mean you have to say, I agree with you, because maybe they're wrong. Maybe they just don't like you because they're jealous of you, But if they say something that you believe that you could change in your life, improve your life in any way you can. It doesn't take money to change your life all the time, but invest in yourself and be a person. And this is another thing we talk a lot about is energy. And we all know that we are beings of energy and that we project energy. Like sitting in this room, I feel energy. I feel positive. I feel like the people that are in this room are lifting me up and making me feel better. When you walk into a room of people whose energy is negative, you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of letting that energy rub off on you, you stop and you take a few minutes and you go, okay, how can I change the energy? And sometimes just simply sitting there and emitting quiet, positive energy is enough to change the energy in the room.
I love that. And I'm a true believer in surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yes.
That changes everything. And like I tell some of my friends and even clients, what are your conversations like when you're feeling depressed?
Mm-hmm.
What was the last conversation you had with someone? Or what was the conversation you had with your husband, with your wife, with your mom, with your dad, with your brother, with your sister? If they are not elevating you, take a step back, even if it's for 30 days. You know, regulate yourself. And I remember when I first got into personal development, I had an exercise where I had rubber bands on my wrist. Mm-hmm. And anytime I would have a negative thought, I would slap myself, right? So then
And
my subconscious was like, oh, negative, oop. And the moment a negative thought was about to come up, I was like, oh, no, because I don't want to hurt myself, right? Yeah. And that exercise actually worked. And especially with everything that's going on in the world right now with politics and religion and wars and, you know, and Texas and California and, you know, a lot of negativity out there, right? People are so used to talking about things with low vibration.
Yes.
So how do we elevate ourselves, right? So I have a morning routine and I make sure that I honor myself with that morning routine. I wake up for prayer group at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's a 20-minute, you know, prayer group. And then after that, I get up. I set an intention for the day. How do I want to feel? I listen to Joyce Meyer. I listen to, I don't know, Joel Osteen or David Guyam or, you know, all these people that are going to elevate your vibration. So how you start your day is going to set out the tone for the rest of your day and who you come across, because everything is energy. Everything is harmonic leadership.
And on the last music note, I can tell you when I wake up in the morning, one of the first things I want to do, I'm not as good as I could or should be, is I turn on really positive music and I dance.
Yes.
And it's so nice. Nobody's in my house. I could do it to my heart's content any way I want. Don't have to look good. Who cares? It's fun.
I love that. What is one nugget that you would like our audience to leave with today about what you're creating and the impact that you're creating and the leadership that God has called you upon and harmonic energy?
Be a leader even when you're not in charge. And don't be afraid to be that leader. And don't feel like you have to be the person in charge to have a positive influence on not just the people that are around you. It's a ripple effect.
I love that. Where can people find you, find your work? Do we have that yet?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
But it's kind of weird. I'm going to change the URL, but I'm sure you have show notes. So,
yes.
So people don't have to remember it.
No.
My original website was readwritetechnology.com because that was from my instructional design days. But I have a website that's devoted to this, and it's /your-divinity.
Your-divinity.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's all about respecting the divine within yourself and elevating your own divinity.
I love that. Well, Cheryl Johnson, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for investing in yourself, flying here from Virginia to come to Miami, leaving your beautiful land and home and your family and your husband, and joining us here at 94.5 FM Blink Radio here in Miami. God bless you so much. I'm grateful that you're here.
And I'm grateful you invited me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.